Yeah, just read through it. All right, good evening. We're going to call this to order at 6:08 p.m. All right, we'll start with the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
You want me to do that now? Okay, we'll go ahead and do roll call. Position 1, Chris Durrett. Present. Position 2, Martina McNichols is not here. Position 3, Donald Atkinson.
Here.
Position 4, Damon Collins is not present. Position 5, Jason Black, I'm here. Position 6, Karen Kinlaw.
Here.
Position 7, Rabina Spruill is not present. At this time, we'll have public comments. Do we have any public comments tonight?
Nope.
No public comments. We will move on to a public hearing, which we will open at 6:10 p.m. I'll read the description of the hearing. Proposed MEDC Project 2024-01 HJR Highway 6 LLC. The Manvel Economic Development Corporation, the corporation, hereby gives notice pursuant to the Development Corporation Act, Texas Local Government Code, Section 505.160, that the corporation will consider as a project of the corporation, 1, the expenditure of funds found by the Board of Directors to be required or suitable for infrastructure necessary to promote or develop new or expanded business enterprises, limited to A, streets and roads, rail spurs, water and sewer utilities, electric utilities, or gas utilities, drainage, site improvements, and related improvements, and B, telecommunications and internet improvements. Texas Local Government Code 501.103, and 2, the expenditure of funds found by the Board of Directors of the corporation to be required or suitable for land, buildings, equipment, facilities, and improvements found by the Board of Directors to promote or develop new or expanded business enterprises that create or retain primary jobs, including 1, public safety facilities, streets and roads, drainage and related improvements, demolition of existing structures, general municipally owned improvements, and any improvements or facilities related to a project described herein, and 2, any other project that the Board of Directors in the Board's discretion determines, promotes, or develops new or expanded business enterprises that create or retain primary jobs. Texas Local Government Code 505.155. The project site is a 3.7-acre site generally located on the south side of Highway 6, Manvel, Texas, across from the Manvel Town Center, HEB Shopping Center. This is the first call for any public comments. No comments. This is the second call for any public comments. No comments. This is the third call for any public comments. We have no comments, so we will close that public hearing at 6:12 p.m. And we will open another public hearing at 6:12 p.m. This proposed project, 2024-02, distinctive business sign. The Manvel Economic Development Corporation, the corporation, hereby gives notice pursuant to the Development Corporation Act, Texas Local Government Code Section 505.160, that the corporation will consider as a project of the corporation, 1, the expenditure of funds found by the Board of Directors to be required or suitable for infrastructure necessary to promote or develop new or expanded business enterprises, limited to streets and roads, rail spurs, water and sewer utilities, electric utilities or gas utilities, drainage, site improvements, and related improvements, and B, telecommunications and internet improvements. Texas Local Government Code 501.103. And 2, the expenditure of funds for certain land, buildings, equipment, facilities, and improvements found by the Board of Directors to be required or suitable for use for professional and amateur sports, including children's sports, athletic entertainment, tourist, convention, and public park purposes and events, including stadiums, ballparks, auditoriums, amphitheaters, concert halls, parks and park facilities, open space improvements, museums, exhibition facilities, and related store, restaurant, concession, and automobile parking facilities. Related area transportation facilities and related roads, streets, and water and sewer facilities, and other related improvements that enhance any of the items described in this subsection. Texas Local Government Code 505.152. And the expenditure of funds found by the Board of Directors of the corporation to be required or suitable for land, buildings, equipment, facilities, and improvements found by the Board of Directors to promote or develop new or expanded business enterprises that create or retain primary jobs, including 1, public safety facilities, streets and roads, drainage and related improvements, demolition of existing structures, general municipally owned improvements, and any improvements or facilities related to a project described herein. Or 2, any other project that the Board of Directors in the Board's discretion determines promotes or develops new or expanded business enterprises that create or retain primary jobs. Texas Local Government Code 505.155. This project site is located at Max Fit Gym, 7515 Masters Road, Manvel, Texas. This is the first call for any public comments. Thank you. Sure, come on up. Please state your name and address.
Hi, good evening. My name is Deronda Gamble, and I represent Max Fit Gym at 7515 Masters Road. My husband and I are the owners of Max Fit Gym. Max Fit Studio has been an integral part of the local business landscape, contributing to the economic vitality of the city of Manvel since 2020. We serve the neighborhood of Manvel and its surrounding areas. Our mission statement encompasses the meaning of learning to balance fitness and health for the whole family as a lifestyle. We aim to have Max Fit a household name, no different than your store that you frequent or your favorite restaurant. We've seen Manvel grow in such a short period of time since we've been in the facility, and Max Fit has grown alongside with Manvel. We survey our clients, and many have shared that they've learned about us through word of mouth, which is a great form of advertisement, and through our social media platforms. But we continue to hear, we had no idea you were here because you don't have any signage, which is why we're here. We understand that signage would add to the aesthetic appeal of the city, and the signage would drive a wider clientele to the gym. It would also promote and further promote the economic development and jobs in Manvel. We're located in an area where you can go to the gym, swing by to get some gas, and pick up a well-balanced dinner. After you've burned all of your calories, you may even decide to go to Starbucks to get a really good drink. So we are centrally located. We're also located in a space with a wellness clinic, which also reflects the growing demand of health and well-being. In the near future, we hope to plan for capital improvement, which will include expansion to our facility to expand our brand beyond physical fitness into other aspects of the lifestyle fitness market. For example, nutritional shakes, supplements, snack products, athletic and athleisure wear. Besides our obvious goal of encouraging and supporting the physical well-being of the community, we're also passionate about creating community. We thank you for this consideration, and when you're in the area, we welcome you to swing by Max Fit, meet to run, and take a look at Max Fit Gym, which is right here at 7515 Masters Road. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other public comments? No?
Thank you.
Okay, we have our second call for public comments. No public comments. We have our third call for public comments. And no comments. We will close this hearing at 6:18 p.m. And we will now move on to our regular agenda. Our first item is A, consideration and possible action to approve and forward with recommendation to City Council, Project 2024-01, HJR Highway 6, Said project is for the expenditure of up to $400,000 for assistance to bring utilities from the north side of Highway 6 to the south side of the property located across from the Manvel Town Center, being 3.76 acres, which will further economic development and retain jobs in the city of Manvel. On this one, we need an update from Dan, correct, on where we're at with the utilities?
Well, is no one here from the applicant?
No.
Well, that is strange. Yeah, without speaking out of school, if we want $400,000, I think I would show up for it. I guess that's on the record now that I said it out loud, but that's okay. So the project hasn't changed any on our side. What they want to do is just to refresh your memory is to bring water and sewer across the street, across Highway 6. MEDC has talked about it. We just had the public hearing. No one spoke in favor or against it. So the next step would be to carry it to council. If you're ready, you could do that. You could table it. Y'all were asking just sort of by the by about McAllister's, where you got that idea. It's in their portfolio of things that could potentially come there. We have not heard of anybody actually going there yet because they're wanting to make sure that they can get their utilities. So right now it's still sort of up in the air is what we've been told. The water is very easy in the sense that the city has capacity for them for water. The wastewater, as you may recall, that's a little bit different because even though the new wastewater plant in Manvel Town Center is the city's to run and maintain, operate and maintain now, there's a stipulation in the agreement. Since they built it, they want to make sure that they being Mud 42, Manvel Town Center, make sure that they don't lose any of their capacity. So we've talked to Manvel Town Center. They haven't been interested yet in giving up any of that capacity. So the only potential, I guess, caveat is if y'all move forward with this. I mean, it's still up to council ultimately, right? If council, is that correct?
The council's got to approve all expenditures of MEDC.
Yeah. So they could sit on it, or y'all could sit on it. But the short answer, much shorter, is that nothing has changed, quite frankly. We haven't got the go-ahead from Mud 42 yet as far as wastewater goes.
Go ahead, Donald.
Yeah, because that was one of the things when we discussed it, they were supposed to get together with them before we moved forward, because we didn't want to move forward until there was an agreement that they had that capacity, or they would give up that capacity to them to be able to do that. And
Yeah,
that
you
has
might
not
want
been
to
done as far
consider.
as you know.
Yeah, you might want to consider tabling it if you don't have enough information yet for this board to certify yea or nay definitively. Then you might want to just consider tabling it then.
I believe that would be my recommendation.
So we have to do a motion to table it, correct? I make a motion to table agenda item A.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. How many we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 0. All opposed? No? Okay. Next on our agenda, we have the consideration and possible action to approve and forward with recommendation to City Council, Project 2024-02, Max Fit Gym distinctive business sign. Said project is for the expenditure of up to $12,500 for reimbursement for signage, advertising the Max Fit Gym at 7515 Masters to promote growth and further economic development and jobs in the city of Manvel. Do we have any details on this that we need to get from any staff members?
The applicant spoke during the public hearing. You guys met in executive session, and you've got the applicant's application in your packets as well. For the new board members, the board met in an executive session at their twice to discuss the topic. What their motion was to move forward 60 days ago to publish the hearing notice, to have the public hearing for the amount up to $12,500. So that's been finished. You just completed the hearing. Nobody spoke against it. So now your decision would be whether or not to move forward with forwarding this on to City Council with approval, or making any changes to it or denying it.
I have one question for Bobby on this one. You know, before when we did the signs, that was a grant program with no clawback or anything. Is that correct? That you just had to change out a pole sign to
No,
put
that
a-
actually, that was a clawback.
There was it.
as
What
well,
would the clawback be in this proposal here?
yeah. If you don't do the investment and/or create the job stated in the agreement, then you have to basically pay it back, and you get a certain time period to do that.
And in our process, has that been discussed with the owners already? Do we know?
I don't think I've ever met with the lady here, but I think, Tammy, do we have a packet or something that has that in there?
Can Mr. Ronda come up or no?
Yeah, she can.
Would you like to come up? Thank you. You know, so one thing on EDC that I like to communicate, because I didn't know this until I was on EDC, is that there is a clawback clause in these. And so you are kind of telling us that you're going to have a side of yours, whether it be employing a certain amount of people, or what are the rules on that, Bobby? What do we have to have from her?
Well, usually we go off the application, what they present that they're going to do, so we don't try to ask for anything unreasonable. We ask for something that they're already proposing. And oftentimes we'll do it as a reimbursement thing, where then we know it's been done because we don't pay the money till it's actually been done, so you don't even have to worry about the clawback. But for jobs, it's a little bit harder. We would require some sort of verification to create or retain the jobs if that was part of the application, and I don't have that in front of me, but like the donut shop, for instance, that was done on a retaining the employees, so we actually got an email from them of the number and their names of the employees there that, you know, they were going to retain and they're not going to move, and we're going to hold them to that, so.
So are you aware of kind of how that works, or do you have any questions for that part of it?
I understand it is a reimbursement program, and that if by any chance there is some change before the completion of what is stated, there is possibly a payback. So yes, I do understand.
Okay.
Yes.
I was
Or
just-
I should say that was explained to me in that.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
Did anybody find what it was in the application?
So I was looking through it. Do you remember if you had I know in the other one, he listed the number of employees in his, and you guys were going to negotiate if that was a true number, so he wasn't tied to it. But I'm looking in y'all's, I don't see the number of employees that you currently have.
Right now, we have myself and Tehran, which is the personal trainer. We are the
I mean, wasn't this one just built on the capital improvement they're going to make, putting the money into the business, namely the
Yes.
sign and whatever else they were going to do as far as upgrades, if I remember right?
right. That's our future plan improvement.
And some of it we took into consideration of them expanding some of the stuff inside of being able to sell some things and get more
Correct.
from the sales dollar side of it as part of our payback.
So essentially, as long as they make the investment, then they've done their part of it.
And again, we go off the application, whatever stated in the application that they were going to do.
Yeah.
And I don't have that in front of me, but if you do, you can probably see in there what all they're going to,
Yeah, the action is a reimbursement, so they will have expensed the funds for the signage before the
okay.
EDC funds have been spent.
Does the EDC have any requirements as far as getting multiple bids for a project like this, or how does that work?
No, a lot of times they come with an estimate. And again, the more recent one is the donut shop with the grease trap. They actually had the plumbing estimate and the grease trap people's estimate, so we could kind of go off of that. We don't require them, although that is something, we could look at doing. We assume that, because they're begging for the money, they've gotten the best price they can, but you're right, that may be something we can look at doing. That's a good idea.
Thank you.
And the estimate, Chris, is in your packet. They did get estimates.
Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Campbell? No? Okay, I think,
But Chair, also, if you'd like to go ahead and approve this, could you add on your motion to authorize the city attorney to do we'll call it the performance agreement, the clawback agreement. Therefore, if council approves it, don't have to come back and get separate approval for the agreement. It would be already approved if council approves the expenditure.
Do we know what that clawback would be, that agreement?
Whatever the amount is,
Based on what?
12.5, if they don't do the expenditure, if they don't do the think within a certain amount of time.
Yeah,
And I don't know even what time is in the application. Is this a year usually, or maybe sometimes 2 years if it's a, big expenditure? I think for signs, it was just a year though, Tammy, wasn't it? Have to do it within a year?
Yeah, it was a year for that, but for the clawback that we did for the grease trap project, you actually kind of discussed those things with the two owners of the two businesses and kind of came up with the terms as well. And so they were well aware of it before they signed, because they have to sign it as well.
But their problem was it was a joint application, so they had to sort out amongst themselves who's going to pay for it, because I think they were splitting the cost. So I want to make sure they split the reimbursement so that somebody didn't pay half the cost, but somebody got all of the money. So that was why we had to really talk to those folks, because they were at a joint application.
Well, I have one more question too. So if we're approving up to 12,500, at what point in the process do we solidify that number? That amount.
So because it's a reimbursement, if they spend 15,000, you're going to reimburse 12,500. If they spend 10,000, you're going to reimburse the 10,000.
Okay.
So that was the amount you guys set. They were actually only asking for,
I was asking for 16
and then you guys cut part of that out,
because of the
12,192.42
impact fee. Yeah, we cut the impact fee out, so we cut out.
was what you got, the ask ended up being, and you guys rounded it up to 12.5.
Okay.
For it not to exceed that amount. So if they go under, you pay less. If it goes over, you still pay 12.5.
And the payment receipt here for the water meter is just to show the investment that's already been made? To show.
Yes.
Okay.
That was part of their deal that we took back of the impact fee on that. That's the reason, because originally they wanted 16 something.
Which would have included this water?
Yes.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
So as a board, essentially what we're doing is we're giving a green light for a small business that needs a sign that doesn't have a sign right now, to be able to improve their business, hopefully get some more traffic into their business and grow, right? And that's what our position is as a board on the EDC, is to, I know for me, I want to stand for small businesses that need that.
I drove past it quite a bit, because
Until I met-
Jordan, until I seen that it was a gym and do nothing about it at all. That was a gym, wasn't a gym, seen people there for months on end until we actually was up here and found out who it was, because, well, needless to say, I don't go to the gym, but now I need to.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
Hopefully they'll approve the performance agreement.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve and authorize city attorney to negotiate the clawback terms in the contract.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, C, we have consideration and possible action to approve the MEDC audit for the year ended September 30th, 2023. And our auditor, Ben, is here to give us an update and run through it with us. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. Does everyone have these? It's just like perfect. It's not going to be on the screen, but I'm going to be brief. Again, I'm Ben Cohen with Belt Harris Pahacek. I was the lead manager, senior manager on the city's audit, and as you know, the Manvel's EDC is related to the city as a discrete opinion unit, so it's part of the city's audit. So what I'm doing here is presenting just numbers. It's kind of like a snapshot, Reader's Digest numbers of the activity of the EDC as of September 30, 2023. So just back up about 7 months ago. So this wasn't anything that happened in the last 7 months. It's go back, way back. So just I know y'all had a lot more activity over the last 7 months than you did 20 months ago. So anyways, I'm going to turn to the second page. And this is just a snapshot of your balance sheet. The only thing I wanted to bring up is your ending total liabilities and fund balance. Your total fund balance is the second balance above the last balance from 2023 to 2020, well, 2022, start on the right to 2023. 2022, your fund balance was about 4.7 million, and 2023 is 6.1 million. So it's an increase about a little bit under 1.5 million. The next page, page number 3, is your income statement from 2022 to 2023. And so as you can see, there wasn't very much activity during the year, not that many expenditures, but for revenues, there was an increase, and it basically came from both your sales tax revenues and your investment earnings. So that was a significant increase, and if any of y'all have a savings account, we all know that we're getting good interest rates right now if you just have it in. So that's basically what that is. And so you got money, and you right now you got a lot more investment revenues from that. So you did have a huge increase there, and then of course you had an increase in sales taxes, roughly about 10%. So things are doing what they're supposed to do when you have a growth in the city and EDC working and just development going, and so and in the next page, the last page, you can see this. I like the last page. I probably should just skip to the last page because the other pages are kind of boring, but this lets you see it throughout 10 years, and you can see that's like a perfect line going like this. So that looks good. So, I mean, you know, it just sales taxes just continue to increase, and we all know where sales tax money comes from. It comes from more activity. So anyways, that's I had roughly about a 10% increase from last year, and so solid. So that's all I have for the presentations. Again, I thank you so much for allowing me to come in and continue to be your auditor and the city's auditor. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you, Ben. Any questions for Ben? No? All right, you're free to go. Thank you.
So we made no investments in 2023 in economic incentives whatsoever? The whole year?
Not before September.
Yeah, not before September, for sure.
It was a slow year.
Frugal.
So that's not necessarily true, though, because your biggest investment is to the city, and the contribution of 90% of your sales tax revenues are going back to the city for a city project. So you made a large investment. It's just not showing separated on here.
So that income doesn't even hit this report.
Where that is in your restricted fund balance. If you look towards the bottom, there's on the first page, you see that restricted fund balance, $3,614,466. That's restricted. It's in the EDC's account, but it's reserved for the city project. So all that's reserved. And then the unassigned, the $2,485,000 is what you've actually got available for projects. So it doesn't really see it on here, but you guys did a very big project.
Every year for the
Yes.
next 99 years.
Thank you, EDC.
So it shows as a balance in an account, but we don't see like an actual income.
Because they haven't drawn from it.
Which will happen. Dan, do you have a?
We have assets, we have liabilities and balances, but we don't show, well, revenue. So revenue for 23, it shows as 1.2. And then the income from the interest. But as far as what amount from, so the 1.235 is the 10%, in other words.
No, the 1,235 is
The 100%.
10% of that is reserved to the city. So it doesn't, it shows it in.
90% of that is reserved.
I'm sorry,
to the city.
10% you have available, 90% went to the fund balance that's restricted. So it doesn't necessarily show it as an expenditure because you've not expensed it. It's sitting in your bank account. Until the city project starts, you get to continue to earn the interest on it.
Okay.
So it restricts it in that way. So a project like the two projects you have on your agenda for tonight, you didn't have any small projects like that.
Right.
That would have shown in your economic incentive line item. And you also had a debt for a previous project that was paid off in '22, so that's why that 90,000, it was a 5-year debt. Paid it off in '22, so you're not seeing that expenditure project for '23.
Okay.
I do have a question here. Do we keep the entire 201,000 of investment earnings, or do we only get to keep 10% of the investment earnings as well?
So the agreement was 90% of your sales tax revenues. So it's been maintained in your account as opposed to given to the city at that time, where the city would earn it, where you guys got to continue to earn it for projects that you guys had.
So the 201 goes into our unrestricted fund balance.
Correct, that's where it's at.
We made more money there than we did on our 10%. Okay. All right, do we have a motion to approve the MEDC audit for the year ending September 30th, 2023?
I'll make a motion to approve the audit.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Okay, next we have a presentation by Chad Chancellor, co-founder of Next Move Group, LLC. Training in General Services offered by Next Move Group, LLC. EDC Strategic Planning, EDC Director Search. Thank you, Chad. It's all yours.
All right, thank you very much. I'm Chad Chancellor with Next Move Group. Allie Marie Watson's here with us. She's our Executive VP of Client Success. She's in Nashville, and there's a tornado headed straight there, so she looks a little distracted. I think it's going south, right? So everything looks good. I don't know if y'all, there's terrible tornadoes up in Tennessee and all today, and so on and so forth. So Tammy called me a couple weeks ago and had received a video. We're members of the Texas Economic Development Council, and so we're always sending out board training videos and economic development videos. And Tammy had watched one and said, I want you to come tell our group what all y'all do. And I happen to be in Galveston. We're doing executive search for Galveston County. They're hiring an economic development director, and we're doing that. So we're over here on that project this week and next week. So this just worked out where I could come visit with y'all. So I've just got a few slides up here to introduce our company to you, tell you what we do, and then we'll be happy to answer questions and so forth. I didn't practice with the clicker, so let's get ourselves going here. It's working good. This works better than most places I go. So we started Next Move Group in 2014, and our real mission is to help small to mid-sized communities and companies grow together. I was raised in a little Mississippi town of about 900 people, and my dad got laid off when I was about 9 or 10 from a Sunbeam blanket factory, and 600 jobs gone overnight. And I just saw what that did to our community, got interested in economic development. Fast forward to 2020, and the first night of COVID, I turned the television on, and Governor Cuomo in New York was saying we can't get gloves and gowns and blankets for our nurses. I don't know if y'all remember, that was a crisis right there at first. That's the very plant my daddy worked at. It all just ran right over me. Here we didn't even have that for our infrastructure. So we've had about 700 clients since we started in 2014, many in Texas. We do economic development, strategic planning, we do marketing, we do board trainings. We also do site selection for manufacturers and tech companies where we help them figure out where to go. And we do executive searches like what we're doing over in Galveston. So here's just a sampling of some of our Texas clients. So had a bunch of them right around. We got dozens more, but Galveston County we're doing currently, but we've had them all the way out in the panhandle of Texas. Borger, we're doing a big economic development strategic plan right now for Borger, Andrews, and so forth. We've also helped big places like, to me, Irving, Texas is big. See, we say we're out for the small to mid-size. Well, they think they're mid-size right there between Dallas and Fort Worth. To me, they're big when you're from a 900-person Mississippi. But anyway, they call us and say, we're mid-size. Y'all need to help us. We did Brazos Valley over at College Station, Marshall, so on and so forth. And, of course, we've had a lot of clients across the country. We just did an executive search for St. Pete, Florida. Again, they think they're mid-size, even though to me they're huge because, they're right beside Tampa. Just funny how that worked out. We've done this all the way to Kennebec, Maine. Y'all think y'all can't understand my accent. You should have heard me up there. Y'all, they had more pine trees than we have in Mississippi. Once I got off the plane, we made good friends. Kansas City Power is probably our biggest customer. So one of the reasons that we've really developed, I don't know, I often tell people, I don't know that we have a lot of expertise, but we've seen everything. We've had so many clients. I mean, I'll go to a place and they'll want to build a hotel or a convention center, or recruit a manufacturer, run a rail spur. We've just seen just about everything you can imagine. Signage, we've seen that before. One of the reasons is every time we get a client, we join that state's Economic Development Association. And now we're members of like 40 of them. And so we go to these shows and then they'll have us come and speak. Allie's going to the South Carolina one here in a week or two. So we kind of learn best practices just by going to all of this stuff, as you can imagine. And then we speak at a whole lot of different stuff. We just spoke at a Leadership Texas deal. That's a testimonial from San Antonio and various different state associations. So one of the things when we finish in a minute is I'm curious what y'all really want to get done here. And you may all have very different opinions because chances are we've seen it. And we don't want to come in here and tell you what to do because I don't know what y'all want to do. But I mean, if you want to build a road, we've just seen nearly everything. And so that's really how we can help you. These are a few of our site selection clients. This is a automotive supplier we put up in Ohio in February. This is a battery project we put in Greenville, South Carolina, also in February, 500 jobs, $500 million. When we do one of these, we'll look at 100 sites. And so you not only find the winner, but you meet all the power company people, the railroad people, the water, the sewer, so on and so forth. So every time we do one, you're literally, you're seeing 100 or 200 people present to you. You're not just meeting an economic developer at some conference, so you see them in action. This is a deal we do. I'm happy to tell you, I tell you my dad's story. We are reshoring jobs to the U.S., whether anybody likes it or not. It's not really been policy driven. It's coming because the manufacturers need their supply chain here. This is one. This company makes roofing membranes for the commercial industrial business. And they were importing all this stuff from China. COVID hit, they couldn't get it. And so they just did a huge expansion over in Tennessee. So we've had clients, I don't know, from 30 or 40 states, and we've helped companies from Germany, Israel, Canada, and Brazil put locations in the U.S. So Allie's our Executive VP of Client Success. She would handle this account, whatever we end up doing, which I have no idea what it'll be because I'm going to show you what all we do. I'm our co-founder. I'm kind of our big picture person. We got podcast channels and YouTubes, which is how Tammy found me, so on and so forth. Alex Metzger's also a co-founder. And then Chuck Sexton's our CEO. He graduated from Oklahoma University's Economic Development Institute, so we've got the whole academic side covered. Caroline Few's our web developer. Some clients have us do, we don't really build what I would call full-on websites, but we'll build marketing websites to add on to what you already have. If you want to go attract some kind of developer, we know how to do that, so she does all that for us. So these are just some of the things we've done in Texas. I thought I would just show you what Texas folks have hired us to do and then just ask you, how you think we might can help. Galveston County, right now, we're doing the Economic Development Executive Search. We're down to our final 3 finalists, and we're interviewing them over the course of the next 2 weeks. One of them couldn't get here, so we're having to do a Zoom and so on and so forth. So that's what brings us to town. We're staying at the San Luis, y'all, and this is the hotel key. Y'all ever been down there in the island? And you can't get in otherwise. And I said, this is going to be embarrassing speaking before the commission with this thing on. But anyway, we can't get in otherwise. Borger, Texas, right now, we're doing an entire economic development strategic plan. When we do those, we meet with all the folks in town they want us to meet with. We've done them where folks will say, just your committee. We've done them where they say, no, we want to meet with everybody in town. Schools, hospital, infrastructure, any citizen that wants to come. We then get all your ideas and go research them. I mean, if somebody said we want to move the Hobby Airport here, we all know that's not going to happen, but we can tell you what it would cost. So basically, we get all the ideas you have, and we go out and show you how other towns are doing it. I mean, if you say we want to build a convention center, we're going to go show you how a town this size, not Houston, but a town this size did that. Did they make their money back? How did they do it? So that's how we do those strategic plans. We're doing a bunch of housing studies right now. I saw online y'all have added a bunch of housing lately, so you may not need that or you may, but housing's a problem everywhere. I gave a talk last year in Tallahassee and then in Bristol, Tennessee, and in Bismarck, North Dakota. You couldn't have been in 3 more different places. Every one of them said we need housing. And they called it like middle income, $200,000 to $300,000 what they said. So now we're doing a bunch of those studies. Gonzales, Texas hired us to be their interim economic developer. So they had an economic developer and she left. They hired us to be their interim while they looked for somebody. They didn't want to just, not have anybody. City manager was busy. He didn't want to have to totally undertake that. So we ended up probably did that for 4 to 5 months, if I had to guess, and it's just a month to month till they found somebody. We did that last year. We have completed that now. Although I just did a board training for them 2 weeks ago, so they're a repeat client. Carthage, Texas literally pays us to represent them, so we do marketing for Carthage. They're about 5,000 or 6,000 people. We do marketing for them. We do some trade shows for them. We introduce them to clients. I think we've committed to introduce them to 20 of the top companies they want to recruit during the year. Now, in the old days, the introduction was face-to-face. Now it's a lot of Zooms. That's just how the world has changed. But basically, we committed to introduce them to the type companies they want to recruit to Carthage. And that is ongoing, by the way. Marshall, Texas had us do salary recommendations. They said, we want to go hire people, but we really don't know what to pay. We don't want to just jump out here and have no earthly idea if this is going to be enough to get us anybody any good. They didn't only want to hire a director, they also wanted to hire a business retention expansion person and a small business person. So they had us go out and do a study for them to show them what they would have to pay to do that. Fairfield, Texas bought a virtual spec building from us. We have a virtual spec building product to where if you don't have a good empty building here, and most people don't, whatever you're trying to recruit, if you're trying to recruit a data center or a food manufacturer, whatever, and you don't have a facility, we've got kind of a pop-up building that'll show how much it'll cost, and you get to see who's playing with it. So that Fairfield can see. General Motors is a bad example, but they could see that General Motors was hitting it, you know what I mean? The smaller the company, the better, because then you can actually go recruit them. In Andrews, Texas, we did economic development board trainings for them. They've bought a video membership from us that we have. I think you've got that later in there. Yeah, I guess we can skip around since nobody else is back here. But anyway, that's just kind of the gamut of what all we do. So we've got, I think our Borger strategic plan is $140,000. And we sell videos for $200. I mean, we literally got stuff from $200 to $140,000. So what I wanted to do is just show you what we did and really understand what y'all want to get accomplished here. And then what we'll do is, send you something customized of how we think we probably could help you. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Chad, can you tell us, you kind of said the cost, but the video that we do have on our agenda tonight, can you kind of just give us an outline, because we're going to be voting on that tonight of possibly buying that, just what that is, what it's going to tell us?
Let me see which one it is. So I have done one video a week since COVID started. So by now I got like 300 of them. So I forget half the time. Let's see which one it is. It's like $250, between $250 and $300, I think. Mm-hmm. And most people, it's just a credit card most people pay with. Basically, that is an overview of how economic development is not just about jobs. Especially presidential season, we all gonna hear jobs, jobs, jobs. But what it's really about is creating sales tax in your community so you can have nice schools and roads and bridges and getting other people to come in here and spend their money, whether they're tourists or companies or so on and so forth. And so kind of the principles of that video walk you through ways to do that and also kind of teach board members what's not economic development. I mean, Gonzales, when we did the interim there, I mean, they would do like the Christmas parade. That's not really economic development in my opinion. So it's easy to get yourself off track. So we kind of talk about what it's not and what it is and that type of stuff. Yeah, and now that is not specific to Texas. I mean, we do a lot of these where we do, this is what a 4A can do. This is what a 4B can do. That video we sell nationwide. It's not specific to Texas. So if you end up liking it, a lot of times what we do is like a half-a-day visioning session. I mean, we'll end up with, and y'all may have already done this, but with sticky notes on the wall and we just start throwing out top infrastructure, marketing, existing industry. We all talk about in economic development playing offense. I like to talk defense too. I mean, what would just kill you if something happened, if something bad happened, if something left? I mean, I've been in towns where if they lost a prison or something, the town would go under. So we also talk about all that kind of stuff.
Anybody have any questions?
Not at this time.
Mr. Johnson?
I do have a question. Since one of the points on there is the EDC director search, so that's been a topic of discussion at the council level and EDC level. If, we don't have someone proactively in charge of economic development, if you will. We have an economic development group, but, not someone that's on staff, if you will.
Right.
So can you talk a little bit about the pros and cons, I guess, of that person or organization, I guess, reporting to the city manager versus reporting directly to the MEDC? I mean, I have my thoughts on it because I've seen it both ways, but what have you seen?
I have seen it both ways too. Pros and cons. We've also seen where chambers of commerce do this and public private. I mean, we've seen a lot of different models. For me to really answer that, I probably need to know more about your funding and to know how much this organization really had. And if you're talking about $1 million to $2 million, which some of the Texas organizations have, then in my opinion, that might ought to answer to the board. But if it's just $200,000 or $300,000, probably to you, I would think, because there's probably not as much leeway with marketing and going to all the shows and so forth. But I don't have a strong opinion on that either way. We've done them in Galveston County. They're going to answer to the county judge. Well, which is going to answer to the chief of staff. So the search we're doing right now in Galveston County will answer to the chief of staff. But as big as Galveston County does not have a type A or B set up. It's just a county position. So that budget's only like $500,000 for that person. Now, Texas City's got an economic developer, City of Galveston, Friends, all of the other towns have one too. So I think I would think about it maybe along how much budget does the person have as to who you would.
To me, I've always wondered about this sort of inherent conflict because, talking about myself, if I had an economic development coordinator, it's straightforward. But what if the person sitting in that seat were not an economic development friendly, if you will? What if they didn't? What if that city manager didn't want development? Well, then there's an inherent problem there. So it seems like it would be purer if that person reported directly to the board, and then that way they're able to carry out what they need to carry out. So
I have seen it to where, yes, if you've got a city manager that really doesn't want development, or not only that, I've seen it if you've got a city engineer or planning and zoning or utilities, that could be the case too. So I hate to give that answer without knowing more, but I think more of it like what is y'all's overall budget? I know I just heard it, but it sounded like there was money moving around.
Well, we do, and we have about $2 million in the kitty to be able to spend, but we're only pulling in about $140,000 to $240,000 somewhere.
Right.
It's going up. We've got a lot of development happening, but we're only putting around $200,000 in per year, probably from here going forward. But we have $2 million sitting there.
Yeah.
So with that interim, I guess, an interim situation like you're talking about with some of the other cities, I mean, would that be,
Yeah, we did that in Gonzales. So basically in Gonzales what happened, and we've got a good-sized staff, so it's not always me, but I spent a couple of weeks there getting to know everybody, understanding, what's what. They've got signage money just like y'all. I mean, I could have literally moved you to Gonzales, Texas, if y'all never been out there, and you would have had this same conversation a year ago. So they've got all that set up. There, the person answers to the EDC board, but they really answer to the city manager. Any way you slice it. I don't care how it looks on paper. It's just the way it works out. He's the former police chief, and he just runs the city. But it seems to be working out well. But no, their budgets, they're around $1 million. But I'm trying to remember, they've got they've got a big festival that a bunch of it goes into and so forth. Yeah.
And I can also clarify too, we're bringing in $1.5 million a year, but 90% of that is already committed to the city.
Right.
And so,
but the way your population is growing and the more sales tax you bring, I mean, a good economic developer will grow your sales tax, and that's a win for everybody. I mean, if you get somebody that's experienced and knows, that's the goal of it. Which is a lot of what that video talks about. It's not just jobs. That's what gets on my nerves at political season, when you just hear jobs. And then when you'll put an Amazon distribution paying $10 and everybody's happy, and it lowers your median income if you really look at it. To me, what it's about is growing revenue for everybody, especially the schools. And usually if you land an industry somewhere, and I don't know what companies y'all are after, but you never hardly give them the school taxes away. So even if you give away a lot of incentives, they're paying the school taxes. And that's a big thing to me.
And if person like MEDC or city council, again, subcontracted with a firm like yours or something to help us get started on this.
Right.
Is there an incentive structure in there? I'm sure it's not like a grant. Well, hey, I don't get paid unless, I bring something to town or whatever, but it's probably not.
Yeah, we don't do those because we represent so many people.
Sure.
It would really be tough. But Gonzalez, I think they paid us $10,000 a month to be their interim, and that lasted 4 months. So, we ended up making $40,000. I spent a couple weeks there, and then afterwards I would go in a couple times a month. We would send somebody if need be. We would answer the phone. If they were to receive a RFP from the state of Texas to fill out or have a prospect, we would have somebody there. But then we were able to flow that into executive search, and then I just did a board visioning with them. I said it was a board training. It was more like a board visioning where we're really trying to figure out what they want to do. Gonzalez has got the whole, have y'all seen the come and take it cannons things that you see everywhere? I live right by Buc-ee's in Alabama, and you walk in that Buc-ee's and you see this come and take it from Texas. And that's from Gonzalez. I never knew it. Doesn't say Gonzalez on it, so they're trying to figure out how to take advantage of that. Yeah, and have y'all done a visioning recently or a strategic plan or anything like that?
So that's something that's on our agenda coming up soon. And so that was one of the reasons that we were excited to hear from you, because we are talking about doing that. We have discussed finding a director possibly. We want to make moves in one of these directions, but kind of like what you're describing, we don't really know exactly where to go.
I wouldn't run out and hire anybody till I knew what I wanted to do. But, we can help you with that along the way. But, so we do these visiting sessions, literally, where we get all your opinion, as well as the city commission, if you want, and other leaders in town, to kind of figure out what you want to do. I can send you a sample of those. That can take anywhere from 3 months to 6 months, according to how in-depth we go. And that really tells you who you want to go hire in many cases. So that would probably be the way that I would look at it. And, we could almost do something like Gonzalez, where, it was $10,000 a month. They could just cut us off whenever they got ready, because it was an interim. And we literally didn't know. And the lady who ran the Kansas State Fair was from Gonzalez and wanted to move home. And she just walked into the city manager's office one day and said, I want this job. So I was fired overnight. It worked out, so I worked out. But anyway, we could do that and build the program as we go. And then if we ever determine we don't like each other, we part ways,
So you said it's about $10,000 a month is what?
That's what Gonzalez paid for interim services.
Yeah.
But in that case, we literally were kind of doing a visioning plan. We also were manning the office a certain amount of the time. So I spent a couple weeks there, and then I'd be there a couple of days a week. I would do these meetings for those 4 months, or I would have a staff member do it, in that event. And then we led that into other things.
And manning the office and economic development aspect is, like fielding incoming, requests for information.
Exactly right. Yeah, what that is fielding questions from developers, small businesses who want to apply for these grants. Now, Gonzalez had taken the stance that they would help existing businesses, but they wouldn't particularly help startups. And I understand that, because 50% of businesses go under. So you would kill a lot of time helping a startup as opposed to a business that's already up and going. So they wanted you to at least been in business 6 or 8 months. But yes, we would field. I remember going and meeting there there was a tire shop right on the main road. They wanted to do some renovation. It was just an old mechanic, it was run down, and they wanted some cash for that. So basically, we fielded all those requests so the city manager didn't have to. And but we would push them into when I was going to be there, because I was only going to be there a couple of days every couple of weeks or whatever. We'd push them into that after the first 2 weeks. But a lot of your big time I don't know if you got any big prospects looking, but they do all that over Zoom. So we would do all that over Zoom in that case.
Okay.
But I think if you call the city manager, he'd speak well about us. So.
Yeah. So if currently looking at 2023, the 10% that we generated in 23 would have been about 123,000 and a half for the year. With the interest that we earned, that was like 324,000 for the year. So I imagine paying somebody a full-time position is going to be a substantial portion of that. So in your opinion, what would you say is a reasonable amount of money coming in to the EDC that would justify a full-time staff position?
Oh, I would say you're at it. We have done searches from paying $65,000, which is hard, up to, we paid in College Station $330,000 to the person that got the job. So, I mean, we've done the whole gamut. Once I really hear your goals, I'll be able to tell you how much it would cost to get somebody. I mean, it's according to how much, kind of, not getting into weeds, but community development you want to do versus real recruiting of economic development and recruiting your businesses and all. So I'd be able to tell you that. But no, what's that one we were just talking to? We're doing one right now for like 70, right? What was it we just? Yeah, we're doing one in where that tornado, we're doing one where that tornado just went. Hopefully, well, we may not be doing it now, but anyway, they want to hire somebody to do workforce development. But they want to get somebody that's been out of industry rather than, they had somebody who was in the community college system, but this time they want somebody kind of from industry. So anyway, but they're only going to basically pay $70,000, but we think we'll be able to fill that. This is going to sound odd. It's easier to fill the lower paying and the top paying ones than the middle ones. I don't know why. The person who will apply for $65,000 job, I don't know if they're not confident enough to go after that 120, but they won't. You will get more applicants. Now, they may not be better, but as far as quantity, you'll get more applicants in the 60 to 80 range, and certainly the 200 to 300 range, than you will at like 120 for whatever the reason. Now, you may get somebody more qualified at 120, but you're going to have less to choose from. That's the honest truth, believe it or not.
Wow. So it sounds like you guys represent, different communities and things in an economic development aspect, but you always also train people who may be, on the board or things like that to be able to represent.
Yeah, we're entrepreneurs, and we just grew by people asking us to do stuff. One day, Alabama Power called me and said, can you train our rural mayors on Robert's Rules of Order? Literally, this is the truth. And I said to my Alabama Power, I said, I'm not a parliamentary expert. He said, you don't understand. We don't need an expert to come in here. They're not going to listen to them. Your accent will work. I went and hired the best lawyer in Mobile, Alabama to teach me parliamentary procedure, and then I did the Robert Rule of Order. Yes, people have asked us, train our board, do a vision, and do this, do that, and here we are. 10 years later, we've had 700 clients.
I think like the vision meeting is probably would be a good first step for us to look at and get some pricing on, and because we don't have direction really.
Me too. Now. I mean, that's the best thing you can. To me, that's where I would, in my own company, that's what I would do first. Where do we really want to go? And y'all may have different opinions, and that's fine. The way we do our process, we kind of work through that, and folks get to vote on stuff and move priorities around. And we'll meet with everybody one-on-one and kind of get a bunch of ideas, do kind of a SWOT, and then we'll actually send out a survey monkeys on these ideas, and everything that folks vote over a 4 out of 5 of I'm interested in that. It's not saying we're doing it. We'll then go research, and we'll show you this is how Waller, Texas did that, or this is how Shreveport, Louisiana did that, or so on and so forth, and kind of show you how to do it. And then we have what I call the eye doctor meeting. I'll come up in here and I'll show you all these ideas, and it'll be better or worse. You say, no, I don't like that, throw it away. That's worse. That's better. Yeah. To where, we may have 100 ideas and come up with 8 that you really want to do at the end of the day. And once I know that, I can tell you how much you got to pay and who to go hire.
So the city's in the process right now, and there's an item for an update on our agenda. Not the Economic Development Corporation, but the city is currently under contract with the company that's doing a strategic plan, comprehensive plan update, and thoroughfare plan update.
So are they an engineering firm, or do they have Yeah. Okay, but they got engineers on staff, or they? I got you. Okay, yep. Okay.
So my question would be, for EDC to work on their plan, does the city's plan need to move forward and this piggyback on it, or are they just completely separate and one doesn't really have nothing to do with the other?
No, they can piggyback, particularly if you're getting into transportation type issues without knowing what all they're doing, or you're getting into planning and zoning use, and highest use and so forth. We would probably just need to be involved to hear what they're doing and kind of tell them what we're doing and compare notes. But no, I don't think they need to be totally together. But you certainly wouldn't want them we would want to understand what they're suggesting, because that will go into how you're going to grow your sales tax, understanding what they're
So
doing.
that process is just starting. We are just a couple months, 1 month into that process. So where for our EDC would you recommend that should they wait till that gets further along before they start their visioning, or do they?
I was going to ask, what have they done in the month? Yeah, what's their first month entailed would be my
Just
question.
a couple mini meetings and some surveys?
Yeah, were they intended to talk with the EDC as part of their process? Yeah, I would do that. And then if we end up doing something here, let us have one of our people here so we can hear that. And then that's probably all we need right now. And then they may be a little ahead of us. Now, sometimes those plans can take like a year. I don't know how long.
2020, January 2025?
Yeah, we work with them all the time, so I'm very used to that. But yes, understanding what they're going to recommend will go into your plan, because you need to know how to market whatever they recommended on the planning side. Whether it is more commercial or restaurant, whatever, transport that road here. That's all Galveston talks about is roads. I mean, that's all. We basically hire them a road person for their economic development.
Jason, can I make a suggestion, though, rather than the tail wagging the dog? I mean, the planners are planners. Obviously, they're focusing on land use and, that kind of, your focus is on the economic development.
Right.
It's almost like us, should figure out the vision and tell the planners, look, this is our vision. What kind of land use, what areas need to be rezoned commercial? What needs to happen to help our vision? And if the economic development might be stronger coming from us rather than the planners necessarily. Right. So I would say, and we talked about this briefly, we had a mini planning session with somebody from the state who came down that was very helpful. And we thought, well, maybe what we need to do is get going on it and try to be a part of it.
Yeah.
But giving them the parameters more than the other.
Right. Our quick visioning ones can go in 2 to 3 months. So yeah, we could get that knocked out and then let them have that as part of their process, which they might like, because they certainly won't be finished by then. So that could work.
I think the timing's perfect, actually, because right now, at the level we're at right now is getting citizen input. Like, what does the citizenry want here? We want sit-down restaurants. We want parks. We don't want this or whatever. So if council and MEDC are extensions of the citizenry, so we're getting that input right now. And Brooke's going to talk about it in the next agenda item, kind of give us a quick little update. But I think this is perfect time, because I think we know, y'all all live here, so it's the same planning session that we had at council, specifically just council and the directors. It's the same things that are popping up with the citizenry, which would be the same things here. So it's going to be that synergy. It's going to be perfect timing, I think, if you jump on this now.
Mm-hmm. And really our expertise comes in understanding the ways that you can, help your small businesses grow and even market. You'll be surprised how many small businesses don't know that y'all even have these opportunities. So a lot of times what ends up in our plan is not only marketing externally, which is what we all think about, how do we get a company, but also right here in your own town. And we've done that a whole lot. And so, but yeah, we can knock that out in 2 to 3 months, and then that can flow into that. And at that time, we can certainly tell you, we think you need a full-time person. This is the type person. This is what it'll cost. Or we don't think you need a full-time person, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So when you talk about workforce development, is that identifying the needs of the businesses that are here and how the EDC can support developing that workforce? And what are some creative ways you've seen that?
Well, that's what the town of Tennessee has us doing, because they want somebody that's basically meeting with HR managers a lot of the time and then connected them with the schools. They kind of talk different languages. They all want the same thing, but they just talk different acronyms, And so they want a full-time person that just gets up every day thinking about that. Not only with the high schools, but the community and the technical colleges, all the way down to elementary. Studies are now showing you got to get to these kids in like second or third grade. Georgia Power is doing a deal where in third grade they take kids out and show them how welding works. And they don't let them weld, of course, and they have a football day or whatever. You're just trying to, literally at that age. But yes, I mean, that role is to basically figure out the workforce needs locally and then figure out how can the school systems, hopefully supply that. But I'll tell you, I don't care where I go, small town, big town, workforce is a problem everywhere. Yeah. And having grown up in a 900-person town, we always thought we were too small. I'm telling you, I can go, where was I? Birmingham, Alabama the other day. $25 an hour, we can't get anybody. And my head's just blowing, So so it's just a nationwide deal. But it's to say, I mean, that's probably something that'll come out in our plan that your economic developer would go work on. But yeah, Marshall, Texas, which is smaller than y'all, well, I think it is. No, they're probably 20,000. They hired an economic developer and a workforce person. But they call their workforce person their business retention, expansion, and workforce person. And their idea was to go meet with all the businesses. But I mean, right down to the gas stations. We're not just talking to big industries. And, help them expand and also figure out what they need on the workforce side and see what they can do from that angle.
We have great partners with that with our school district too. Right here in Manvel, we have the Career and Technology Center for the school district, and then we have ACC right down the road that is willing and able to partner with us on anything that we want to do. They're moving to Manvel. They're about to have a facility here in Manvel, and so there's a lot of partnership opportunities there. Yeah. That we can look at too.
If that becomes a big piece of it, then you will need a full-time person. Yeah. I mean, that is a full-time job. I'm just telling you right now. So, but we can figure that out as we go. Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
Yes, ma'am.
So in your ED 101 training, the very first item listed on that is proper roles and responsibilities of board members and elected officials and what their roles are not. If the board goes forward with the vision, is that just at the board level, or is that recommended at a joint workshop type thing with the involvement of the council?
We usually do those as the council and the board. Yeah, because usually, and kind of just so you can start thinking about the way it goes, it's kind of more the council's job to think about infrastructure and stuff like that, as it is y'all's job to think about how do we support the businesses, which infrastructure supports the business, but it's two different things. But that's kind of the high level you come down. But yes, Gonzales 2 weeks ago, we did them together, and they've been very happy with it. So I think that's probably the way you want to do it. Now, that's without me understanding any of y'all's politics or who don't get along with who or any of that. Yeah, hey, that's a good answer.
And I think our current council would like to be a part of that. I think that they're, as into it as any council we've ever had. So
yeah, they're more engaged.
Yeah,
they kind of want us.
Y'all are a type B, right? So then what I would do, I've got stuff just for Texas type Bs that I can throw in there that won't be in that when you see there, because we sell that nationwide. And a lot of places don't do it like Texas does. Arkansas is doing it now, though, so you got some competition. They just passed this sales tax law.
So do you have a video that, after hearing what we've talked about here, that would be better than the one that we're going to vote on today? I mean, could you make us maybe tailor something to us?
I wouldn't vote on that. I'll just give it to you in our normal. So, I mean, we have, honestly, if we do anything as far as us helping y'all with the vision, then we should just give you access to our library, because we've got literally hundreds.
Okay.
Well, as a matter of fact, last week I did one on disaster response because a bunch of our clients got hit with a tornado last week up in the Missouri, Nebraska area. Yeah, we had a client, Grand Island, Nebraska. So unfortunately, I lived through Katrina in New Orleans, so I saw disaster response, good and bad. So anyway, I did a show last week on what to think about before the tornado or the flood ever comes. So you got a file over there when it comes, and then what to do after it. So yeah, we literally do a show every Tuesday. So I've got hundreds now that I don't even remember half the time. So we would just give you access to the whole thing, and there's a search bar, and there's it'll say elected officials training videos, economic development training. When I first started it, we made them like an hour long, because I said nobody's gonna pay a bunch of money for something that's not very. Every complaint was make them 10 minutes. I won't. So now we make them 10 or 15 minutes, in and out. So I would say we just give you, it's called the movement membership. And around here, San Patricio's a member, Galveston County's a member. We've got quite a few just around this area. And so we just would give that to y'all while we were working together, and you could look around at what you wanted to.
Okay. Yeah, I think if you would be willing to do that with us, that would probably be our best.
Well, I
move
tell you, when
forward.
I did 3 weeks ago, Kansas City Power is one of our biggest customers, and they had a town up there that had a solar farm looking to come in and lease 1,000 acres of farmland. Half the town was for it, half the town was against it. And I have never done a solar project in my life. They came to me about 2 months ago, said, can you research this and just do a video on the pros and the cons? Don't take a stance, but tell us the good and the bad. So I did. So you never know what we're going to do. And so, yeah, I don't know if y'all have had these solar farms looking around here, but now I've done one on that I literally had never thought about till 2 months ago.
I think in Brazoria County, we're supposed to have 25,000 acres of solar farm.
Wow,
We
yeah.
probably already have at least 15 of that, I bet.
Yeah.
And a monkey farm, that's right. None in the city of Manvel, but in our
Yeah.
area, we have a lot of them.
Well, that's why I'm saying when I tell you I don't even remember all the videos I've done like that. Because now our customers will ask us to do one, and I won't even. Basically, I tell them, give me 2 months, and we can do anything. Because if I don't know it, I'll go hire an expert, to tell us what to do. But when the pandemic hit, my business partner, I said, what we going to do? And he looked at me, he said, people love your accent. See, now they don't like it where I'm from, because we all sound like this. I gave a talk where I'm from 2 or 3 weeks ago, didn't one person laugh, I said, this ain't going good. But when I come over here. But anyway, he said, people love your accent. He said, you need to record videos and we'll sell them. I said, there's not one person will pay a video. When I'm telling y'all, we have sold thousands. I have been shocked by it, to the point we do one every week.
Well, congratulations on your own economic development. with
Yeah,
all
that's
that.
right. I did our own. That's right. We're going to have Allie doing them now from now on. So why don't I send y'all just a proposal on what the visioning session would look like, and maybe a 2 to 3 month process where we got through it. And we'll give you the access to the membership. And then I don't know, do y'all meet in June? I don't know how you have to vote on something like that.
So typically, the meetings were every second Wednesday of every month. They took a little break and was meeting quarterly because there just was not any activity going on unless a project came forward. So now that if the visioning is an item, one, we're coming up to budget, so that's going to warrant extra meetings plus meetings. So we can go back to monthly meetings if there's items to be discussed, so yes.
Well, I can send you a proposal and just a draft contract of what it looks like, and then if you, you can't vote on it tonight because I don't have anything to present you. But if it seems to be the will of the board, then I can be here the next time you meet and start then, or we can just coordinate on that. Well, no, hopefully we'll be done in Galveston after next week. I was going to say I've got to be back for those interviews, but hopefully we'll be done after next week. Once in a while, you'll have one wants to come back, so you never know.
During that time, would we have access to the videos to be able just to kind of trial them out?
Yes.
Okay,
I have a web developer. She was up there. We'll get her tomorrow to send. It's not working anymore. We'll get her to send Tammy tomorrow the login, and then y'all can feel free to use them.
We appreciate that big time.
Yeah. So it sounds like we want to try to figure out what our vision is, where we want to go. And like the gentleman said, then we'll know what our needs are and how we're going to move towards it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so probably what I would think, just so you're not shocked when something comes across, I would think something like we did in Gonzales, but not really be an interim. We'll just do the visioning. And it'd probably take like 3 months, So if we did 10,000 for 3 months, and then at the end, if we then determined to do something else, that'll be totally up to everybody. We should be able to finish it in that amount of time.
And it sounds like that'll also be sufficient for us to be able to have input on the strategic plan and everything that the city's developing as well. That's a good timeline. Mm-hmm. Awesome. I love that idea.
Yeah, great. Okay. We don't have any action on that, but I think we have some direction now. Yeah. very
One
good.
warning, next week's video you don't need to watch, it's going to scare you. They asked me to do a video on the highest paid economic developers in the whole country. Y'all, the New Orleans economic developer makes $700,000. The guy that runs Greater Houston makes like $650,000. So anyway, when you watch that, you're going to say,
send you
we don't
my
need to play in
email
this
and you-
business. Just remember.
On your next search, you can shoot me an email and.
Tulsa, $650,000. Like Omaha, it's shocking.
That's probably all under the table.
I know. And, yeah, I lived in New Orleans for 8 years. I don't live there anymore. But
Come on.
the New Orleans economy wasn't doing real good, and he's making $700,000, so something's going good. So, yeah. So, Tammy, you just want me to send that to you, and then I'll also get Caroline to do the login, and then just let me know the next time y'all meet. We'll have somebody here figure out what to
And we
do.
will have a meeting next month, because they're going to start budget conversations. So it'll be
Okay.
the second Wednesday of June.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Chad.
y'all.
Yes,
Appreciate
thank you very
you.
much.
I did all the talking. Ally, you want to say anything?
I think you pretty much covered it all.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
You gotta get the accent going.
Yeah.
I know. I'm from Kentucky and Nashville 10 years, but there's no competing with that.
That's,
Well, I grew up in
that's strong.
but then I lived in New Orleans, so I never know what word's gonna cut. I don't even know myself.
That's funny. Okay, we're going to move on to E, update by city staff on the status of the city strategic plan, comprehensive plan, and thoroughfare plan update. And Brooke is going to give us an update on that. Thank you, Brooke.
Hello. So we went over it a little bit, kind of all the talking points that I was going to give you all today. I think about 2 meetings ago, Tammy brought up that we were beginning the public input portion of this. We've been on the back end since I think December trying to set up how we were going to go about this strategic, comprehensive, and thoroughfare plan. You've probably seen it a little bit online. We've named it Future Manvel. So if you've seen that anywhere, that's what that is. This process has been going on now for a month. In April, we held, I believe it was 9 meetings for public input, and then a public forum at the end of the month. Now we are in the survey portion, which is running from the 1st to the 31st. This first week, we received about 200 and something responses on that online survey so far, which if y'all haven't taken it yet, it's at cityofmanville.com/Future Manvel Survey. And there's a link on our website as well and on our social medias. But we wanted to provide y'all an update to make sure that y'all are aware, same with any plans that y'all have moving forward with y'all's visioning objectives. So that's really all I have right now. I can also answer any questions.
Thank you, Brooke. Does anybody have any questions for Brooke? No? All right, that's it. Thank you. We will move on to the next item on the agenda. It is consideration and possible action on purchasing the Next Move Group ED 101 training for board members video and course workbook. We will take no action on this one since we kind of went over all of this and we have a game plan for that. So we can just move on to the next one, Tammy? Okay, so we'll move on to our next item. G, consideration and possible action to set an earlier meeting time for the MEDC meetings. This was probably me that brought this up.
Yes, it was.
To see if we could do daytime meetings, if everybody was available to do that. Staff is good with that. We kind of already talked about that in our workshop. But if everybody can't do it, then it's probably not worth voting yes on, because that would be not allowing everybody to be at the meeting. So any input from everybody on being able to do that?
It would be extremely hard because I would have to take time off work and working in Houston. I mean, it's 45 minutes to an hour each way, depending on traffic. Of course, traffic middle of the day, it's going to be worse. It'll be the hour 15 minutes that it took today. Yeah. But I couldn't.
Now, we could contribute the $50 for the toll to get you down here a little faster.
True. But I come across the Beltway now, so.
In my opinion, if anybody can't do it, then we don't do it. That's how does anybody have a differing opinion than that?
Wednesdays at 6 work for me.
Okay. Martina, you?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. So we will take no action on this?
So your previous meetings started at 7, so you are doing you
6.
have changed the time since the 7 o'clock meetings to go at 6. Now, City Council has a 5 o'clock workshop. Not sure if 5 is too early or not. Donald, you're always at the City Council meetings.
Well, that can be, yes. I get off at 4 most of the time.
So, if you wanted to bump it up to 5 even, or if 6 is it, or if you want to go back to 7, but.
The earlier the better for me, so you guys tell me.
7, or 6, I'm sorry.
Mr. Donald?
Yeah, I can do 5 if everybody's can be here by 5. I mean,
I'm retired.
we do have two others, so
Yeah.
I don't know from them, but I could do 5. I mean, I just have to make sure that day that everything's wrapped and I head out at 4, no later than 4.
If we take a action to approve that and then one of the other members can't make that because of the time, what would the process look like to change it back? We'd have to put it on an upcoming agenda?
So my recommendation would be that you keep it as it is at 6. Each meeting, if you guys, we can have an action item that you guys can set that next meeting time earlier if you want. But that way it doesn't tie some, quorums are very important, and especially if you have consultants traveling in, the last thing we want to do is you not be able to get out at 4 or someone not be able to get off and us not have a quorum when you've got extremely important business going on.
Okay, so should we,
You can take no
Just
action
no
on that.
Take no action.
and it won't die, we can bring it back up? Okay.
So we put it on each agenda.
For the next meeting.
Every time.
meeting Until we can all,
Okay, so we will take no action on that one. Okay, next we have H, consideration and possible action to nominate and appoint an MEDC president. And you want to tell us anything on that or no?
So for your board positions, these come up, your terms are 2-year terms, but your board positions are 1 year. You serve 1 year for the president, vice president, and secretary. So we're at that point now. Right now, Robina is your president, Jason is your vice president, and Karen is your secretary. You can make a motion for yourself. You can nominate yourself to be that position if it's something that you feel wholeheartedly about. Robina was in a car accident today, which is why she's not here, but she did want to let you know that should it be your will that you'd like her to still be the president, she would more than happy stay and accept that, or should it be your will that one of y'all want that instead, she was okay with that as well. So if there were a position you wanted to nominate her for, she was okay with accepting it as well. So this is totally y'all's board and your position, so however you guys want to nominate for your president, and then they'll either accept or not be wanting to take that, and then you will vote.
Does anybody have any questions on, like, kind of how it works or anything?
I'll make a nomination to nominate Jason as our president.
And I'll second that.
Okay. I'm willing to do that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It passes 5-0. Thank you, guys, for trusting me with that. Okay, next consideration and possible action to nominate and appoint a MEDC vice president. Any questions on that? Any volunteers on that?
I nominate myself, Martina McNichols.
Martina? We have anybody else that wants to say anything, or everybody good with that before we take a vote?
Need a second.
Oh, we need a second, I'm sorry.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have J, consideration and possible action to nominate and appoint an MEDC secretary.
I am not nominating myself.
Well, that's okay. Well, I'll nominate Karen to continue as our secretary.
Do you want to do it, Karen?
I'll be fine.
Okay. Karen is the nomination. Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, it passes 5-0. Okay, that concludes our regular agenda. We'll now vote to pass our consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Yes. Tammy, please.
Before we adjourn, just so you know, in your packets, there was a meeting, the workshop with Betty Russo from the governor's office. I put some information in your packets just for you to take to review. One is a 4-page questionnaire of questions that I sent her on all things economic development. Those are her responses on what help the governor's office could offer to you. The other information in there has to do with your 2017 timeframe when you guys, or the board, did a mini strategic plan in a sense of what was important to the board at that time. That is in there. And then I emailed you, which as you're going forward with the visioning, maybe won't be quite as important, but a couple strategic plans, samples of neighboring cities that were discussed during that time as well. So that's what the rest of the information in your packet is.
I have an unrelated question. Would it be possible for us to get some sort of identification when we're representing the EDC, in the community, visiting businesses or even different functions, to have some sort of name tag or something made, to kind of identify ourselves in the community?
The answer is yes. You just haven't got y'all's yet because of just being appointed. But
I never got one of those either, Karen. How did you get one of those?
I'm sorry, the meeting's adjourned.
All right, Tammy, I see. Okay.
I'll get them all for you. I can't drink.
Okay, are we good? We have a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0.